Yeah, so today we're in studio here, exciting times, chilling, having a bit of a conversation, in depth actually. We're gonna have it. We're going to have an in-depth conversation.
Yes, sir.
Tell all type of conversation with one of South Africa's biggest and always consistent producer by the name of Thabiso Tsotetsi. Most of people call him Thasman. So yeah, thanks a lot for the time, man, and
Sure.
appreciate borrowing some time from your hectic schedule, if I may put it that way. So let's kick it off, man.
Yes, sir.
I know, like I said, a lot of people call you Thasman.
Yes, sir.
What is he known for? What is Thasman known for in the music circle?
Thasman is known for music production, basically.
Yeah.
But then, what makes Thasman different from a lot of us that are out there producers,
Yeah.
is that I produce predominantly every genre of music there is.
Sure.
And there is no Thasman signature as per se in every song.
Yeah.
There is more the artist's signature. So basically, what I do is, when I produce for an artist, is I look at who they are, what they do, and I create music that suits them instead of music that identifies myself in their genre.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So. I mean, looking back from where you come from, how did you break into the music industry, especially the mainstream? Because that's where everybody wants to be. You know, people want to produce hits. People want to be associated with the big brands within the music space. You know, they want to have their name attached to that big record that they've put out there.
When I broke into the industry, I was actually, to a certain extent, not looking at breaking into the industry. I didn't want to sign to no record company. I didn't want to work with any known artists. I just wanted to do my new thing, starting from nowhere. And
Yeah.
why? Because one knocks on doors for so long and no one opens. And just then, when I thought to myself, I'm no longer knocking,
Yeah.
then people started knocking on my door.
Sure.
Maker came to my studio in Mafike and listened to some of my stuff. He was blown away. He loved it.
Yeah.
He took some of my stuff, gave it to Lance Off, and then Lance gave me a call. He was like, "Hey, come through, let's meet." And he calls me on a Monday, whereas on a Wednesday I was going to Samro to register an album.
Yeah.
Sure. So I was like, no, okay, on Wednesday I'm going to Samro to register an album that I've completed.
Yeah.
So I will meet you then. And
Yeah.
ever since I came to Joburg, I stayed in Joburg. I never went back.
That Wednesday.
From that Wednesday, went to Samro. After Samro came, met up with Lance, and after meeting up with Lance never wanted me to leave. I
Sure.
stayed in Joburg up until today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talking about that ghetto rap penetration, where now you're exposed to vast of talents.
Yeah.
You produced second album of Zola. Zola was at the peak at that time. Were you not intimidated because now you're just this young man from Maftown who's now exposed to these big talents, and now you have a task of picking up where other producers left off?
I was intimidated, and it was more of a challenge as well. When I started working with Zola had started shooting Zola 7. Actually,
Sure.
Zola 7 had just launched soon after I had started working with him.
Yeah.
So watching Zola 7 first episode, second episode, I realized that I need to change Zola's sound. The Zola sound that was there before me
Yeah.
was your Yizo kind of sound.
Yeah.
Zola now is back on TV but doing something completely different.
Yeah.
So the sound has to fit into what he was doing then. So I had to completely change his sound.
Sure.
So after changing his sound, there were doubts whether the album is gonna work and what. And I explained it that I'm changing the sound because now he's no longer that.
Yeah.
He's something else. He has moved on to a different platform now.
Sure.
So this will suit in perfectly with where he is.
Yeah.
There was still doubts, and then came a listening session after the album was complete.
Yeah.
They listened to the first 3 tracks, sitting down, scoring everything else, and after that they said, "Nah, we're not scoring no more. because these 3 tracks already got 10s. So anything that's gonna come possibly is gonna get a 10. Play it, let's hear.
Yeah.
Bah, within the first few seconds, it got a 10. Again, it's like, I love this track, I love this track. No, we're no longer scoring, so let's just listen, because now most albums are made out of 3 singles.
Yeah.
So I had more singles that were were rated highly as radio hits.
Sure.
You know, so that album became that album became Zola's best and biggest selling album.
Okay. So that means that it obviously elevated your career as a producer, because
yes, of which it took my career and put it on one of the toughest platforms I could ever imagine.
Sure.
Which created more pressure for me
and demand, obviously. Because now you're in there, you're in the mainstream.
Being in the mainstream, for me, I wasn't looking at it as how much demand would create for me. It was how much I can do for those that I had been working with for quite some time. I've been working with Morafe then for plus minus 8 years.
Sure.
When I was working with Zola, I was working and then I was doing other things as well. So I was thinking to myself, how does my success help HP get to the peak of his success?
Sure.
How does my success help Morafe to get to the peak of their success?
Sure.
You know, and I believe at the time Tswana rap was, or Motswako as per se, was looked down on. There was nothing like Motswako, because time and again when I bring something, is he rapping in Zulu?
Yeah.
No, he's rapping in Tswana. No, it's not gonna work.
Sure.
You know, so I thought maybe the elevation of my career could help me bring that to the table.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're big there, you're rocking,
Yes.
and then suddenly you have a fallout with Ghetto Rap.
Yes.
You need to go independent. How difficult was that move from being with a label that provided you all these big names that you're producing for, that obviously helped you with your career, elevate your career, and now suddenly you're going all out on your own?
To a certain extent, I think being with Ghetto Off was then more of me being a dependent on Ghetto Off.
Sure.
I would easily say I was not employed by Ghetto Off, but I was coexisting with Ghetto Off. I was working with Ghetto Off. It was a company to company kind of relationship. It was Impact Sounds working with Ghetto Off.
Sure.
As a producer for Impact Sounds, I was producing stuff for Ghetto Off.
Sure.
You know? Yeah. So for me is the little support structure that I had from Ghetto Off is the little support structure that I had put aside for myself. That, okay, cool, this is how the structure works. Moving forward, I'm gonna use the same kind of structure for myself, and working with a lot of different artists has always been one of the things I enjoyed doing. You know, Ghetto Off having the artists that they had doesn't mean that other record companies didn't have those artists. So for me, is I created relationships with all the other record companies, and I could still do the same thing I did within the one company that I was working with.
So was it a smooth transition, or there were hiccups here and there in terms of?
Hiccups are always there.
Yeah.
Hiccups are always there. You find certain people who would come to you and say, I want blah blah blah. You give them blah blah blah, and they disappear from the surface of the earth, and you're thinking now you're the one constantly calling, hey boss, now you want it now, and you know. So those were the kind of hiccups. Whereas within Ghetto Off, it was a matter of here's an artist to work with, and I work in no problem, you know. So with other artists outside of the working environment, it's not as easy as when it was managed within Ghetto Off space.
Sure. You've gone independent. Established your own independent company. What's the business model now? You know, you no longer report to someone. You no longer work for someone. You are now an independent man. You need to go out there, get the business. What's the business model that has worked for you over the years to keep your brand alive and making sure that there's enough of talents you work with and your company is generating enough funds for you to be able to continue doing what you do. Yes.
The business model is simple.
Yeah.
Work like a slave, to live like a king.
Sure.